Once upon a time, there was a big-shot pharma company called Blackwood Pharma. They were famous for making medicines, but before they could release any new drug, they had to test it. Because, giving out untested medicine is frowned upon, even for a company that probably pays its interns in granola bars. For these tests, they gathered a group of people, locked them up for 5 days, and promised them a fat paycheck. In exchange, the participants had to take the new medicine daily and let the company monitor them like lab rats. Enter Claire, one of the lucky participants, or should we say desperate volunteers. She arrived at the testing center, where she was assigned to share a room with 2 other participants, Allison and Vanessa. Allison was a chatty, bubbly girl who could probably talk a brick wall into being her friend. Honestly, if talking was a sport, Allison would have a gold medal and still not shut up about it. Vanessa, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. She was so quiet and mysterious that you half expected her to reveal she was secretly a vampire. Claire soon met other participants, including Paul, Amir, and Ray. Amir, who was from the medical profession, had once tried to get an internship at Blackwood Pharma but was rejected. Maybe they saw his resume and said, "Nah, we're good with underachievers, thanks." Determined to get in with the company, Amir joined the test, hoping they'd change their minds. The rest of the participants were all in the same boat, broke and willing to do pretty much anything for money. It's like a reality show for the financially unstable. Dr. Burke, the drug specialist in charge of the test, entered the scene. She explained the plan. Each participant would get a 25 milligrams dose of the drug daily, which could go up to 85 milligrams depending on how things went. Then she left, probably to enjoy the part of her life where she didn't have to deal with this circus. The group sat down for a meal later, and Claire noticed something odd about Vanessa. She avoided everyone like they all had cooties. Ray filled Claire in on Vanessa's backstory. Apparently, Vanessa came from a super strict religious family and had a falling out with them. You could almost hear her thinking, "I signed up for drug trials, not group therapy, Ray." Meanwhile, Ray and Paul revealed they were pros at this whole test thing, having done similar trials before. Professional guinea pigs, ladies and gentlemen. The first day of testing seemed normal. The participants were monitored, asked about side effects like headaches or stomach issues, and everything seemed fine until nighttime. Claire woke up and found everyone gathered in the hall, whispering and discussing something in hushed tones. Claire probably thought, "Great, I signed up for a science experiment, and now it's turning into a horror movie." Claire, unable to sleep because of the noise, joined the group and snapped, "I can't sleep because of all your racket." The group immediately fired back, "Neither can we." Apparently, none of them could sleep, something about their bodies sending danger signals. The kind of alarms that scream, "You might have made a poor life choice." The next morning, everyone reported this to Dr. Burke. She brushed it off, saying it was just a slight side effect of the medicine and totally normal. "Oh, sure, Doc, because insomnia, alarms going off in our bodies, and questioning life choices are completely fine." Then, like obedient guinea pigs, they took another dose and went on with their day. Over time, Claire and Allison started bonding. Initially, Claire found Allison's nonstop chatter super annoying. Honestly, if Allison could channel all that energy into exercise, she'd have abs for days. But slowly, Claire began to appreciate Allison's upbeat nature, and the two became friends. Meanwhile, we discovered that Vanessa had a crush on Paul. She was so smitten that she kept making sketches of him. Imagine if Paul saw them. He'd probably start charging for modeling sessions. On the other side of things, Dr. Burke was having a conversation with her senior about the test results. Turns out, the reports were not meeting expectations. Translation: things were going sideways. To make matters worse, Dr. Burke informed everyone that they had to avoid sleeping entirely so they could better track the changes in their bodies. To sweeten the deal or make it sound less like torture, Dr. Burke announced they'd get a daily bonus of 10,000 Indian rupees for skipping sleep. Most of the group instantly lit up like Christmas lights, dancing around like they'd won the lottery. Because who needs sleep when you can buy a new couch to sleep on? Eventually, but Claire and Amir weren't thrilled. Amir, being the overachieving medical guy, went to confront Dr. Burke about the increased dosage. Instead of answering his questions, she yelled at him to mind his business. You know you're in trouble when the expert can't come up with a decent excuse and just goes full-on drill sergeant. Things started taking a darker turn. Dr. Burke secretly told her senior that the participants' immune systems were weakening, and the test could become dangerous. But her senior didn't care and basically said, "Keep upping the doses and do as you're told." Classic corporate attitude. Your safety is my last concern. Later, the group sat together, fantasizing about what they'd do with all that money. Marcus joked about taking a year-long vacation in India. "Buddy, with the way things are going, you might be spending that vacation in a hospital instead." He even calculated they'd have enough money, around 100,000 euros or 80 to 90 lakhs INR, to live comfortably for years. Meanwhile, Allison kept pestering Claire about her future plans. Poor Claire, struggling with the effects of the medicine, snapped at Allison to leave her alone. Hurt and disappointed, Allison walked away. Maybe Allison finally realized that not everyone's dying to hear her life commentary 24/7. Amir was lurking outside Dr. Burke's cabin, eavesdropping like he was auditioning for a spy movie. From her conversation, he realized things were going horribly wrong with the testing. Honestly, Amir, maybe try knocking next time? Snooping isn't exactly subtle. When Dr. Burke left her cabin, Amir sneaked inside and started poking around the reports. What he saw shocked him. Brain changes that looked straight out of a sci-fi horror flick. He quickly copied the data to his pen drive because, it's not like the situation was shady enough already. Meanwhile, Claire, noticing Allison sitting alone for a long time, decided to check on her. When she got there, she found Allison sleeping. But wait, it wasn't your normal beauty nap. Blood started streaming from Allison's eyes. Claire freaked out and called for help. But before anyone could reach, Allison began having violent seizures. In a matter of moments, Allison's entire body gave up, and she died on the spot, her face covered in blood. The room was filled with shock and fear. Even Paul and his buddy, who had been around since the beginning, were shaken. This kind of thing had never happened before. Dr. Burke arrived, looking as scared as everyone else, which was a big red flag. When the expert in charge starts panicking, you know things are seriously messed up. Suddenly, alarms blared, and the entire facility went into lockdown mode. A timer started counting down from 30 seconds, signaling that the center would be completely sealed for the next 24 hours. Dr. Burke, proving she was a runner in another life, bolted for the main gate, with everyone trailing behind her. Just as she was about to make it out, the gate began to close. In her desperation to escape, she got stuck halfway through, and the heavy metal rods pierced her stomach. Dr. Burke really took sticking around to a whole new level, didn't she? The group managed to pull her out, but it was too late. The gate slammed shut, and Dr. Burke, drenched in blood, weakly muttered, "I'm sorry," before dying on the spot. Amid the chaos, Amir rushed back from the doctor's office and dropped another bombshell. Nobody can sleep. If anyone falls asleep after taking this medicine, they'll end up like Allison. The group was terrified as Amir explained that the medicine's effects became deadly during sleep, causing the immune system to shut down and the brain to go haywire. "We just need to stay awake for the next 24 hours, Amir declared, as if that was a simple task. Sure, Amir, because staying awake for 24 hours in a literal death trap is no big deal, right? He also revealed that the body's earlier warning signs were its way of saying, "Hey, don't take this stuff." Now, stuck inside with no escape, Amir urged everyone to focus on surviving and staying awake until the lockdown lifted. The group realized that getting out alive meant they had to endure the next 24 hours without giving in to sleep, a terrifying challenge with death looming over every yawn. The facility was part of a massive, high-tech company, so the security was supposed to be top-notch. Yet somehow, the gates mysteriously locked themselves. A big-budget facility, and the security systems acting like it's running on a discount trial version? Classic. No one could figure out if there had been a security breach, but things were looking pretty grim. Amir, being the group's makeshift problem solver, handed out 5 packets of smelling salts to everyone. He explained that if anyone felt sleepy, they should sniff the salts for a brain-jolting shock to stay awake. Because apparently his genius plan to cheat death involves everyone snorting their way to survival. For those who've tried powerlifting or deadlifting, you might know how smelling salts can give a burst of energy, kind of like an adrenaline rush. With everyone terrified of falling asleep, they threw themselves into activities to stay awake. After all, they hadn't slept in over 2.5 days. It was torture. Marcus resorted to jogging, Vanessa kept walking, and Ray and Paul busied themselves with random tasks. Meanwhile, Claire was grieving Allison's death. She kept looking at Allison's lifeless body, sadness written all over her face. On the other hand, Amir was busy going through Dr. Burke's laptop, trying to find a cure for the deadly medicine. It's almost impressive how Amir found time to play tech support during the apocalypse. At one point, Claire decided to record a video for her mom. Teary-eyed, she spoke into the camera, saying, "By the time you see this video, I'll be gone. I'm sad I couldn't be with you in my last moments." She mentioned coming here to earn money to help her family. However, she ended up deleting the video because deep down, she still hoped they'd survive. Later, Ray started asking for smelling salts because he'd run out. But no one offered to share. Let's be real, Ray. Everyone loves their life more than your sniffing habit. Everyone claimed they were also out of salts, which wasn't exactly believable. As time passed, they noticed strange shadows appearing in a place called Luzon. The creepy part? These shadows made people fall asleep almost instantly. Marcus, unfortunately, became the next victim. He saw a vision of the main gate open and walked through it. When the group went searching for him, they found his lifeless body near the gate, his face covered in blood. Lesson learned. If you see a magically open gate in a horror scenario, maybe don't walk through it. Amir concluded that whenever someone fell asleep after taking this medicine, they experienced severe internal bleeding, which caused their death. Vanessa, determined not to meet the same fate, came up with a disturbing way to keep herself awake. She started burning her hand on a gas cap every time She felt sleepy. Claire, watching this, was horrified. Seriously, Vanessa, was there no less medieval way to stay awake? Coffee, maybe? Claire was struggling to stay awake, so she gathered everyone and suggested they escape together. She argued they couldn't keep fighting sleep forever. She showed them a map of the facility and proposed breaking the front wall to get out. Amir, ever the buzzkill, immediately shot the idea down, claiming the security was too tight. Because, of course, Amir's life motto is, why try when you can sit and overthink? But Claire insisted it was better to try than sit idle, so the group started smashing the wall with axes, taking turns to avoid exhaustion. Their enthusiasm quickly turned to despair when they broke, only to find metal walls on the other side. Congratulations, team. You just unlocked a brand new layer of disappointment. Frustrated and still in danger, the group felt hopeless. Ray reminded everyone that Amir had already warned them about this, which raised suspicions. How did Amir know so much about the facility? Ray, Paul, and Vanessa began whispering about the possibility that Amir was working with the Blackwood Company. Maybe he had been faking his struggles all along, given that he hadn't shown any signs of sleep deprivation. While the group was deep in their conspiracy theories, Claire confronted Amir. He finally confessed the truth on a note. The lockdown wasn't random. It was all because of Dr. Burke's mistake. Apparently, Burke had tried to copy data from the center's computer, triggering the security system and trapping everyone inside. Great job, Dr. Burke. Not only did you lock us in, but you also left us a legacy of chaos. Amir admitted he was in Burke's lab when it happened and blamed himself for not stopping him. Claire encouraged him to focus on fixing the mess instead of wallowing in regret. That's when Amir had a brilliant idea. He could create a chemical injection that would keep them awake for several hours. Claire supported the plan, but Ray and Paul, still suspicious, stormed in and tied Amir up. They demanded to know how much Blackwood was paying him. Amir insisted he wasn't working with them and explained he just wanted a job at the company. Imagine tying someone up for being overambitious. If only job interviews worked this way. Claire managed to convince Ray and Paul to help with the chemical instead of interrogating Amir further. With Amir's guidance, Claire and Paul followed his instructions to create the wakefulness-inducing chemical. Meanwhile, Vanessa and Ray remained skeptical. They hatched a sneaky plan to test Amir's loyalty by injecting him with a separate chemical to make him unconscious. Because nothing screams trust building like secretly knocking someone out. Vanessa and Ray should open a school for shady teamwork strategies. The group was now juggling a strange mix of science, suspicion, and chaos as they tried to escape the nightmare facility. According to the plan, when Amir's chemical was ready, Ray distracted everyone while Vanessa prepared to knock Amir unconscious. But Karma decided to step in and take the wheel. Vanessa suddenly started having Lucy Shans, whatever that means, fell asleep and, oops, died. Lesson of the day: don't mess with Karma unless you want a one-way ticket to Naptown. It turned out Amir's intentions weren't as bad as everyone thought. Sure, he made mistakes, but they weren't intentional. Now only Ray, Paul, Claire, and Amir were left. All of them were desperately fighting sleep, only to discover Amir's chemical didn't even work. Way to go, Amir. Your chemical is as useless as a paper umbrella in a thunderstorm. Claire wandered back to the main hall, where she found a hidden note behind a wall. After breaking it down, she and Paul discovered a secret passage out. Meanwhile, Ray stumbled upon Amir's note. Reading it turned Ray's suspicions into pure rage, and he decided to kill Amir. Because, apparently, reading notes is the top cause of homicidal tendencies these days. Ray went on a mad hunt for Amir, but Amir, in a surprising twist, freed himself and killed Ray. Why? Well, Dr. Burke had been haunting Amir with Lucy Shans and whispering in his ear to kill everyone. Burke, the ghostly cheerleader of poor life decisions. Amir believed that if he did this, he could prove himself to the Blackwood Company. Unfortunately for Amir, his career dreams turned into a nightmare, leading him down a path of destruction. Amir's madness didn't stop there. Fueled by his ambition, he attacked Paul and Claire. Paul ran into a morgue room to escape, but accidentally entered the area where bodies were cremated. Paul's last words? Wait, this isn't the exit. He tragically burned to death. Claire, meanwhile, kept running until she and Amir got separated. Both eventually succumbed to sleep. As the lockdown timer ended, the facility's doors finally opened and armed men entered. Without hesitation, they shot Amir on sight. Talk about a no-interview termination. Blackwood HR takes their job cuts very seriously. These gunmen weren't there to save anyone. They were there to kill all the participants. Claire, realizing this, played dead and hid among the corpses in body bags. The gunmen, likely sent by Blackwood or Dr. Burke's senior staff, took the bodies out of the facility and disposed of them, ensuring no one ever found out about the test's deadly outcome. It turned out the participants were doomed from the start. Blackwood had orchestrated everything, paying participants to be part of this twisted experiment, knowing they wouldn't survive. Imagine signing up for a test thinking you'll earn cash, but instead, you earn a front-row seat to your own demise. Peak capitalism. And thus, the horrifying truth emerged. The experiment wasn't about medicine. It was a death trap all along. Claire, hidden in a body bag inside a van full of corpses, finally decides to make her grand escape. She pops out of the bag like a horror movie villain, scaring the life out of the poor driver. Imagine seeing a dead body suddenly wake up. This guy probably considered changing careers right then and there. Startled, the driver loses control of the van, causing it to crash. Both drivers are knocked unconscious, and Claire, in a stunning display of bad timing, steps out of the van, only to pass out herself. After all, nothing says survivor like immediately fainting. When Claire finally wakes up, she's in a hospital bed. Meanwhile, the news is buzzing with reports about Blackwood Pharma's disastrous drug test. It's revealed that 6 people died because of Dr. Burke's mistake during the experiment. Oh, and one person, Claire, was in a coma. Claire really nailed the role of barely surviving protagonist. The company, of course, pins all the blame on Dr. Burke. Convenient, considering the doctor is already dead. Classic corporate move. Throw the deceased under the bus, or in this case, under the lab experiment. To save its reputation, Blackwood Pharma's owner appears on TV, promising to support the victims' families. He assures everyone that Blackwood will continue providing safe medicines. Sure, because nothing says trust us like a deadly experiment. It's painfully obvious the company is just trying to cover up its mistakes. Honestly, Blackwood Pharma's PR strategy deserves an Oscar for Best Fiction. As the movie reaches its shocking conclusion, we see Claire regain consciousness. Surprise! She's alive and kicking, ready to spill the tea on Blackwood's shady operations. Or maybe just ready for a nap, considering all she's been through. And with that, the movie ends. Cue dramatic music and credits rolling over the driver, who's probably still in therapy after seeing Claire come back to life.